The following program, The Lightning Strike, is sponsored by Mohammed Fahim, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of NewsWeb Radio Company or its management.
Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Fahim, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Fahim. Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Lightning Strike. Another show down the tubes today, I guess. It's October 26th. Fall is slowly starting. But the fall of the United States as a country, as a government, has been going on for quite some time now under the Trump administration. And that is something that I want to address today. Joining me at 8:40 would be Read Bible, and also joining us for our person of the week at about 8:13. Our person of the week is actually going to be Billy Branch, and I'd let Dr. White talk more about Billy Branch and who he is. We're going to take a short break at about 8:12, and we got a couple of programmers coming back on. Today, Dolly is back on with us, and Adriana would be joining us. I think Adriana has sent a clip that I might want to play today. Former Congresswoman Marie Newman would join with her segment of Ignore at Your Own Risk at 9:14, and Maria Mazzafo should be joining us at 9:30 with Breaking the Echo Chamber. Ken DeLuke and Carl Moose should be joining us also in the second hour. So we got a full 2 hours of programming for you, and at 8:30, if you want to join the conversation or even before, the number to call in is 773-763-9278. Let me repeat that, 773-763-9278. After the program, if you want to leave us a message that you want us to play online or on the radio, the number to call in is 312-TLS for the Lightning Strike 8182. You can always leave a message for us over there. But I wanted to dive right in today with what is happening with the ongoing 2025 US government shutdown and the effects that it is having. The short-term effects across multiple parts of the economy with the potential for broader consequences if it continues for several more weeks. And these guys are fighting like, cats and dogs over there. Instead of doing the job of governing the country and representing us, both parties are trying to represent their own values or their own, how do I put it, their own priorities. Of course, the Republicans are blaming the Democrats. The Democrats are blaming the Republicans. Meanwhile, the common person is suffering. Economists are estimating that the shutdown is trimming 0.1 to 0.2 percentage points from the annualized GDP growth per week. Reed, just look at this, man. This equates to roughly $7.5 to $15 billion in lost economic output weekly.
Yeah.
Let that sink in, folks. The White House Council of Economic Advisors notes that a month-long shutdown could lower national GDP by $60 billion and lead to 43,000 additional unemployed workers. People are getting notices in the mail that their SNAP benefits are going to be impacted for November. Meanwhile, King Nero is building his ballroom. What the heck, man? A ballroom tearing apart the White House while the country is in this lurch? I don't know which country we are living in, folks, but this is not the United States of America that I signed up for. And unless we, the people, stand up and take control of this situation, nothing is going to change. We all know that our Congress, our Senate, has been bought and sold to special interests. Midterm elections are coming up. Make sure that you sign up, you register, you vote, and you vote these people out who are creating this mess for us and bringing some new ideas and some new blood.
Mhm.
Now, while much of this loss, this economic loss, might be regained once the government reopens, economists are warning some permanent damage is likely, particularly for contract workers who do not receive the back pay also. Just look at it. An estimated 700,000 to 750,000 federal employees are currently furloughed without pay. Can you imagine coming back to your family and your children are saying, we cannot afford groceries this week. We cannot afford to pay our rent. We cannot afford to pay our bills. We cannot afford to pay our car notes because the government is shut down. The loss of regular income is dampening consumer spending also. The market and the business ripple effects, the recession and inflation risks, these are tremendous things that are going on, folks. It is our government. We have got to take it back. I cannot overemphasize that. And while I'm looking at it, here comes our president talking nonsense through his hat again. And again, he is trying to emphasize that he is a peacemaker. Meanwhile, just yesterday, Pete Hegseth, that other dunce in the administration, has directed an entire fleet to go towards Venezuela now. Okay, aircraft carriers and everything. They are trying to prep us for another war, folks. Another Vietnam in the making. The military industrial complex is another big thing that has taken over the country. And as you go along, you will see the ripple effects of this on the entire economy. They're trying to get us into another war, Congress or no Congress. And the president had the gall to say that he does not need the approval of Congress to redeploy troops worldwide. On that note, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back after the break with more conversations. And our person of the week is actually the legend Billy Branch,
Yeah.
and Dr. White would be introducing Billy to us. Okay, while I'm waiting for our station to go for the break, let me bring back in Dr. Sheila White. Dr. White, good
Calling
morning.
all
Thank you so much for
residential and
joining.
commercial property owners. If you're
Okay,
like
let's wait for the break to happen.
bills, which by the way are on the rise, you're also probably unaware of the federal, state, and utility incentives that you qualify for. Take out a piece of paper and a pen and write down this number 630-785-0031. Again, 630-785-0031. Give Greenlight a call for a no cost, no obligation energy assessment, and we'll show you which federal, state, and utility incentives you qualify for. Again, 630-785-0031. Give us a call, 630-785-0031.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Well, folks, welcome back to the Lightning Strike. And Dr. White, we want to introduce our guest that you had a recorded interview with.
Yes, I just wanted to say something about what you said earlier, Mohammed. You said we the people. We the people built the house, the White House, and
Yeah.
part of that East Wing that's being torn down. Most of the people will never get a chance to see this golden ballroom. And it's really interesting because this is supposed to be on display where we the people are supposed to be able to take part in touring and having something to do with that historic building. And so it's amazing that our people are suffering around America, yet we're thinking about building a golden ballroom. It's just the irony of that is so opposite.
And
What's
Sheila,
happening?
since when have we sent these people, these bozos, to the White House to dance in there? Is that what they're supposed to do? Is to
It's
go to the
not the
White
time
House
to party. It's
and have a
not the time
party?
to party. It's the time to rally the troops to
Holy,
stand behind people to vote for the right people in office. That's what's need to happen. We need to put the right people in office on either side of the fence, red or blue.
oh,
They need to be
absolutely,
in Congress.
absolutely. So it has to be bipartisan. We have got to hold these people accountable, and they believe in divide and rule, and they're trying to do their utmost to rile people against each other. There's so much nonsense happening. But let's let's go into Billy Branch, Sheila.
Okay. Well, we have someone really exciting that we recorded. We know that blues artists can't get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, but we have someone that is a phenomenal artist. We're going to play that clip of this great interview with Mr. Billy Branch, one of Chicago's blues legends. So here it is.
Well, I'm queuing it up.
I have the utmost pleasure to have as our person of the week, Mr. Billy Branch, a renowned Chicago blues harmonica player and band leader who has been a prominent figure in the Chicago blues scene for nearly 50 years. He is a Grammy-nominated artist and an Emmy Award winner known for his work with his band.
Mohammed, unmute the output for Sheila's audio.
Yeah, the audio clip muted real quick. So you got to unmute yourself, Mohammed.
He can't hear you.
Oh, he can't hear me?
No, he got to type it. He can't hear you.
Principal architects of the Chicago blues sound, and he was the A&R man at Chess Records. He produced and arranged many of the sessions, and of course his song catalog, which is probably close to 1,000 songs. His catalog boasts some of the most well-known blues songs in history: The Backdoor Man, The Hoochie Coochie Man, Spoonful, I Just Want to Make Love to You, I'm Ready, The Seventh Son, hundreds and hundreds that were not only recorded by the blues greats, but musicians of all genres, especially the rock and roll, but people like Peter, Paul, and Mary from the folk genre. And of course, all the rock groups, Led Zeppelin, the Stones. So to have that opportunity to be his harmonica player for 6 years was, I could only describe it as a dream come true, because I learned so much. I had to develop real fast. I thought I was good when I got in this band, but I found out I wasn't as good as I thought I was. I replaced one of my mentors, Kerry Bell, who was one of the great Chicago harmonica players. And those are big shoes to fill. And I had to dig in hard. And I did. Willie had the utmost faith in me, and he'd always offer encouraging words. But in addition, he embodied the blues, and he was always preaching to us and teaching about the importance of blues being the roots of all of America's music. Like one of his quotes was, "The blues are the roots, all of the rest of America's music are the fruits." He'd also describe the blues as the facts of life. And I think that had a huge impact on me as giving me the inspiration to do my Blues in Schools program, which I've done now since 1978. And I'm still currently teaching blues in the schools. So I can't, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I can't overstate the impact and what a wonderful experience it was working with Willie Dixon.
You know, their band, the Son of Blues, which are all famous blues artists, their dads were all famous, and so you named them the Sons of Blues.
The original, yeah.
The original group. You know, they have a blend of soulful, funky blues. What was your inspiration to get to that sound?
Well, it developed. It was organic. You know, there's a song that I performed that I recorded on 2 recordings. It's called "Son of the Blues." It was based on a poem written by my mentor and dear friend, Dr. Sterling Plump, who's the most published blues poet of his era. And in that song, I preface, I'd give an introduction. I'd say, well, what we do is have a foot in the past with an eye to the future. And that's always the way my music has been presented. My father, rest his soul, who was a big fan of mine, was not particularly a blues fan. He was more of a jazz fan, which a lot of African American folks are. They say, yeah, I like jazz, but I don't care for blues. But he enjoyed my band because he said we had a little bit of everything. We got some little jazz flavor, a little soul, a little funky stuff, you know, but it was enough to cater to a lot of tastes.
You know, your thoughts, what are your thoughts on historical and societal content of the blues? Because I know you recently were a part of a No Kings rally, which was a political thing, but what are your thoughts on the historical and the social content of the blues? A lot of people don't understand it, and it's a new genre. It seems like it's a new genre for a lot of people today.
Yes. Well, my forthcoming album is titled The Blues Is My Biography. And the blues has been interpreted and given many different definitions. But one definition, I like to refer to the blues as the soundtrack of African American existence in this country. Because, of course, when we came over, we had the blues under slavery, and even through civil rights, and we find ourselves here in 2025 facing some of the same challenges. And referring to Willie's definition as the blues as the facts of life, because you can make a song out of anything that you're going through. And it's very simple, AAB pattern. You say one line, you repeat it in third line that rhymes, you know. And the blues is able to express a lot of the social, political, economical struggles that we still face today. And I'm finding more and more young African American, very highly skilled musicians entering the blues fray, and that's very encouraging that they're starting to get it.
Yeah, you've played with so many great artists, and there's a lot of lessons I'm sure you've learned from different artists like, you know, Mud and, you know, so many. What were some of the lessons that you took away from playing with some of these artists?
Well, the main lessons were the professionalism, putting on a good show, being appealing to your audience, giving it all that you had. I remember Willie, sometimes he said, you know, sometimes the last thing I want to do is get up here on this stage. If I, you know, for example, if I'm feeling a little ill or exhausted, but you never let the audience know that. And I've been, you know, sick, had stomach flu, and had to perform. You know, as they say, the show must goes on. But that was one thing, the professional aspect. Also, the importance of practicing and honing your craft to the highest professional level possible. Being on time, things like that. Dressing, presenting yourself. You dress, you know, not in blue jeans and T-shirts, but you dress the part. You're the star. And I remember with Willie, we always played sold out crowds. And when he, you know, he would have us as the band open up. We do 3 or 4 numbers before he came on. And he'd walk on that stage with just a wry expression. And all he did was smile. And the whole place would just go wild every single time. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your latest project and how people can get in contact with your music to be able to enjoy it.
Okay. Well, my upcoming album is entitled, again, The Blues Is My Biography. We have 3 singles out, which are all on all the musical platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and the first one we released was "Begging for Change," which features on vocals Shamika Copeland, who is the anointed queen of the blues, and myself, and then Ronnie Baker Brooks, who co-wrote the song with me, is featured on guitar. The other 2 singles are called "Harmonica Man," which I wrote, which is pretty self-explanatory. And another one is called "Hole in Your Soul." If you don't love the blues, you got a hole in your soul. and Bobby Rush, the legendary 90, God, I was Bobby 90, 91, 92, still performing strong. He joins me on that on vocals and harmonica. So we will have the release, the full album will be released on November 7th. We will have the release party and performance on November 21st at University of Chicago's Logan Center. And we're working, I'm hoping this might even be free to the public, but November 21st. This album is arguably the best product I've ever produced. And my harmonica appears on roughly 300 different recordings, but wow. I've got approximately 15 under my own name. But it's a work that not only reflects a lot of my personal observations and experiences, but also displays the different styles and genres that I'm able to be comfortable in.
Wow.
So we got high hopes for this.
Wow. Well, we just want to thank you for being our special guest on today. You are a prominent figure in the Chicago blues scene for nearly 50 years, Grammy nominated. I know you're going to be nominated again this year. You're an Emmy Award winner, known for your work all over and throughout the world, preserving and teaching the blues. And like you said, now the world has the blues because of what's going on. We want to thank you for being our special guest today.
Well,
and
thank
folks,
you for having me.
Okay, that was awesome. Sheila, thank you so much. So, man,
There is he said there's a
bring-
hole in your soul, and if in the world has the blues going on because of what's happening in the world,
Right
especially in
now.
America. I think we all have a little blues.
Right now, yep, and that was so awesome. Thank you, and folks, that is Dr. White, our segment producer for our Person of the Week. If you want to join the conversation, feel free to call in. This segment is always sponsored by Ray Hanania of rayhanania.com, HANANIA.com, and we call it What's on Your Mind. So we want to hear from you what's on your mind. And with that said, if you, again, after the show, if you want to leave us a message, the number to call in and leave a message is 312-TLS for the Lightning Strike 8182. We'll take a quick break for our second commercial and come back after the break with more conversations on the Lightning Strike. You're tuned in to WCPT. I'm your host, Muhammad Fahim, with Dr. Sheila White, Dolly Silverberg, Read Bible. And joining us shortly would be former Congresswoman Marie Newman, and also Maria Muzaffar. Ken DeLuke is missing in action today, and Carl Moose should be joining us in the second hour. Okay.
All residential and commercial property owners. If you're like me, you're sick and tired of paying high electric bills, which, by the way, are on the rise. You're also probably unaware of the federal, state, and utility incentives that you qualify for. Take out a piece of paper and a pen and write down this number, 630-785-0031. Again, 630-785-0031. Give Greenlight a call for a no-cost, no-obligation energy assessment, and we'll show you which federal, state, and utility incentives you qualify for. Again, 630-785-0031. Give us a call, 630-785-0031.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Muhammad Fahim.
Well, folks, welcome back to the Lightning Strike. We are in our third year now, and we are trying to make a difference by raising awareness of What are our rights in this country that we so dearly love? And the first and most important right that we have is the right to vote. Let us not forget it, folks. Midterm elections are coming up, and there is going to be a concerted effort to divide us into sects, religions, red, white, blue, green, whatever. These people are going to do everything possible to hold on to power by dividing us. Let us stay united. And on that note, I want to bring in Dolly Silverberg for her take on what is happening in the world. Dolly, if you can unmute yourself and share with us your thoughts on what the younger generation is thinking about what is happening in the country.
Well, just to go back to Sheila, thank you so much for bringing in Billy Branch. That was incredible to hear. My dad grew up at Rosa's Lounge, listening to all the greats. And so I want to shout out Rosa's Lounge, 3420 West Armitage Avenue. Please, if you like local blues or even if you just like local Chicago music in general, hit up Rosa's Lounge because that place is amazing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I thank you, Mohammed, for letting me be here as always every Sunday. I want to talk about more of the large scale ICE raids that have continued in Chicago. Specifically, I mean, on October 22nd, federal immigration officers they descended on Little Village, which is a South Side neighborhood at the heart of like Chicago's Hispanic community. And 8 people were arrested. At least 4 of them were confirmed to be U.S. citizens after the fact. But many of these ICE raids that we've been seeing in the Chicagoland area have been on like the South Side and the far west suburbs. ICE seems to be specifically targeting, as we've already talked about, people of color. Their probable cause, as Reed has discussed too, is racist ideology, which to many isn't probable at all. It's leading too many people to be injured, unlawfully arrested. Children are being zip tied, you name it. It has horrifically happened. But something I wanted to discuss was, interestingly enough, 2 days ago on Friday the 24th, ICE agents were seen in the Lakeview Lincoln Park area. And why this is interesting is that this is a more affluent neighborhood. They came in unlawfully detaining people, as they do, and they tear gassed folks after neighbors confronted the agents because they specifically targeted a brown man who was doing construction work on a private property. So the ICE agents, they jumped over a fence to get into the front yard, and they took one of the 3 men who were doing construction work. This is abnormal because white populations, it seems up until this point, have been spared, or at least white neighborhoods have been spared. And this marked the most high-profile standoff in these kinds of neighborhoods as of late. So my question to you guys, my point, I suppose, is: do you think finally this will wake people up to what's going on in the country if they are hitting more affluent neighborhoods, especially in Chicago? Do you think that because they hit a white and rich privileged neighborhood, people will start to fully grasp and understand that this is disgusting and wrong? And my answer to that is I hope so, because so many people don't understand the gravity of what's happening in our city and all over the country. People are being beaten and being dragged off the streets without due process. This is not what America is or should be. And we're starting to see the fallout and trickle down effect of a wannabe dictatorship. And it is scary. So I guess my question to you guys, what do you think about this? Not just about ICE, but how ICE targeting more white neighborhoods could affect people's opinions. Yeah, Reed.
Go ahead, Reed.
Sheila. Yeah.
Well, Dolly, this is just an example of Trump's administration's continued lawlessness. For an administration that claims to be about law and order, it is totally lawless. And there is no order. They're causing disorder. And I can't see how it could do anything but alarm America generally, because this is creeping fascism. It's infiltrating the whole society. At first, people living comfortably in their nice lily white suburbs were comfortable and they weren't being impacted. But now they are. They started with the brown people and Black people, and they're moving slowly through low-income people, They're going to work their way on up into middle class people who are liberal progressives and maybe even some wealthy people. So eventually they are all going to be affected. And it seems like we have this penchant for we don't get involved until we're directly affected. Well, now it's starting to happen. You will be directly affected. They may not even think that in liberal Chicago, blue state, and all that, that they're going to be impacted, but it's going to eventually permeate out from blue states to red states. It's already going to be affecting red states as far as the cuts to social welfare programs that they very much rely upon. So it's going to happen.
Reed, one of the things that I wanted to bring out, and this is something that Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal also pointed out the other day in an interview that she was doing in Chicago, that the term illegal is not correct when it's being used in this context. Once you are here, you have to go through the process, and coming to the country illegally, so-called, is not breaking any kind of criminal law. It's not a criminal offense. It's a civil offense that has to be adjudicated by a federal judge. Till that is done, there's no such thing like an illegal person. It's a human being, okay? They come here for better opportunities or whatever, and they're doing jobs that our regular Americans are not doing. And they are bringing a lot of economic value to our country without us realizing it. And these guys are basically bounty hunters. I was told recently that for every person that they are bringing in, they are being paid a bounty of from $700 to $1,000 or something. I need to verify that information. But this is ridiculous. For signing up to be an ICE agent, they're getting a sign-on bonus of what, $30,000, $50,000 or something?
50,000, yeah.
And they don't have to have any qualifications at all. Like Kristi Noem was saying, yeah, you live, breathe, you're standing upright, you can be an ICE agent. What are we doing over here, folks? Trump is laying the foundation to create this mass civil unrest so that he can legally bring in the military against our own people, against the Americans. And that is what he's laying the foundation for, so that there's not going to be any fair elections in 2028. This guy is going way beyond what any emperor could have done in any situation throughout history. And we are letting it happen. And when I say we are letting it happen, I'm holding our elected representatives accountable for this. Sheila, it's not for us common people. Okay, we can go, we can protest, but what the heck is Congress doing? Why are they sleeping on the job? Here we have this congresswoman who was elected that Mike Johnson is not swearing in so that she can come in and vote and be the 218th vote on the Epstein files, for example. The country is in a turmoil because of these bootlickers that are there in Congress. And then every congressperson is trying to hold on to their seat. They got something to hide. And then they come in with these big, tall promises.
Yeah.
And now these incoming new candidates who are running for Congress now in the primaries, I was listening to one of them the other day on the radio for the 8th district. And this guy is straight out lying through his teeth. He's like, I'm a businessman. I want to bring economic stability back to the 8th district. Oh yeah, sure. And then he started, saying that the 8th district lost AT&T, they lost Ameritech, they lost Sears, they lost this, they lost that. Motorola. I want to bring all of those. I want to travel all over the world, bring those businesses back. I said, listen, man. You've had a congressman there, Raja Krishnamurthy, for 3 terms now. And what he hasn't done or managed to do in 3 terms, you think you're going to do that in your first term as a congressman?
Wow.
Get real. Don't make unnecessary promises. And that is all that these guys are doing. they make promises.
You know, it's interesting, Muhammad, because what Dolly said is when it happens to you, it's a whole different situation. Most of these agents, a lot of them, they're finding that they're doing this so fast, recruiting, they're not passing the physical test. They have criminal background, some of them, and they're just coming in at any rate, some of them have drug backgrounds that they're not passing, that type of thing. So they're just recruiting people. Whoever wants to get in, you're in. And there's one saying that when you throw a rock or a brick through a window, the person that gets hit, the dog that gets hit is the one that's going to holler. When white America starts to get hit with this situation, when ICE is coming into their neighborhoods, taking people from their lawns that's working on their lawns, taking their housekeeping people away, taking people from the restaurants that work at their restaurants, when these businesses are affected, then you're going to see an outcry of throughout America, because until it happens to you, you don't have any sympathy or any empathy. You just kind of let it happen. So I think it's important what Dolly said.
And Reed wants to chime in. Hey, Reed, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to dovetail off of what Sheila just said. These people are being recruited and they don't have the qualifications that your more conventional ICE agents once had.
And let me stop you right there, Reed. I'm sorry to butt in, but folks, I want you to understand where Reed is coming from. I want you to know what Reed's background is for him to make this statement. Reed, can you please reinforce what your background is?
Okay, well, I spent 20 years off and on enforcing immigration law. I was a special agent when I began, but I ended my career, retired as a supervisory special agent. I was one of the founding agents of ICE. And I know what the agency's initial image was supposed to be, or its mission, and it's been deviating from that, from a premier law enforcement agency to being this lawless group of I don't know, unqualified goons that are trying to seemingly promote white supremacy in this country. And they are coming out of high school, many of them, and don't have any college behind them. They don't have any psychological training. They have a very truncated training at the academy that they're going to. It's not anywhere near the length of training that I had to go through when I first started. And they certainly don't seem to be getting any training in de-escalation. The policy of ICE used to be that you use minimum force necessary. And part of that is to practice de-escalation, but it certainly doesn't de-escalate when you're wearing a mask and covering up your badge. That just aggravates the situation because the people don't know whom they're encountering. You could be some thug that's pretending to be an ICE agent, although I think probably a lot of the ones who have actually been recruited are thugs. They just are thugs with a badge now. And it's certainly clear because they're not stopping people with reasonable suspicion, and they're now using race as probable cause with the blessing of Justice Kavanaugh. So I'm just very disappointed in the agency for which I once worked.
Well, and again, Reed, I hold our elected representatives accountable for this, man. It's not up to the common person on the street. We can protest, but the biggest thing that we can do is go to the polls coming up and make sure that we don't listen to the smart talk by these people, the talking points that their consultants, so-called, come up with, that the polls are saying the wind is blowing in this direction. So you talk about this, Congressman. Reed, I want you to please come back to the topic that you had prepared for today.
Oh, well, I will be happy to do that, Mohammed. But just one last point is the point that you made. Coming into the country illegally or without inspection, that does violate a statute. It's Title 8 of the United States Code, Section 1325. But as you pointed out, that is not a criminal statute. That is a civil penalty, for which I believe, I think it's a fine of $50 to $250 for each entry. That the person is not illegal. Their status might be illegal, or their way of entering might be illegal, but the person is not a criminal. So they committed a administrative violation, not a criminal law. And even if it were criminalized, how egregious is that you came in without inspection? It should be dealt with. It shouldn't be tolerated, but it doesn't make that person some kind of horrendous criminal, a rapist or a murderer or something like that.
And Reed, why aren't we going after the employers?
Well, you know what? Ironically, when Ronald Reagan was president of the United States, we did. They instituted a whole new program called worksite enforcement or employer sanctions. And the objective of that was to go after the employers who knowingly employ people who are not authorized employment. But that program apparently just went to the wayside, I think, because of the political influence that the corporate employers had over our elected officials through campaign donations. Oftentimes, it was my experience that, especially in the agricultural sector, if there was an operation investigating them for having hired undocumented immigrants, that investigation would get called off because some strong, powerful politician told the agents to stop doing it. They'd call up the director of ICE and tell them, call your dogs off. So just blatant
Again, it goes back to the fundamentals. Okay, let's make sure that we register to vote, we come out to vote, and after the elections, we bug the heck out of these elected representatives by calling them, by emailing them, by going to town halls and confronting them about their actions in Congress and the Senate. Reed, go ahead, please.
Okay, well, the topic that I wanted to really get into today, too, was this business of the $230 million that Trump is trying to get out of us. You know, since Trump's been in office, he's already pocketed about $3 billion personal gain for himself. And now he appears to be attempting another corrupt profit from his office. And that's he's put in a claim with the Department of Justice for $230 million of taxpayer money, your money. And it's just another shakedown of us, this time through the DOJ. And I want to explain to the American public, to Chicago listening group population, that they might be wondering, how is he able to do this? And the way that he's able to do this, folks, is through a 1946 law called the Administrative Procedure Act that applies to all federal agencies. Under this act, it's set as to how government agencies can adopt rules and regulations, how they can apply them, and the standards for adjudicating them if somebody claims that they've been wronged by the enforcement of whatever laws they enforce. And so that's sort of the background behind this. And if somebody decides that, I don't like how they applied this regulation or the regulation's wrong, they have this option of filing a complaint with the subject agency, the offending agency, trying to make a case that you misinterpreted your own regulation or you improperly enforced it against me. Maybe there was some discriminatory intent you had behind it, and I want to be compensated for that. Okay. And they will say either damages, monetary damages, or some other type of relief. That puts the agency in a position, like in the case of the Department of Justice, in the position of being able to decide, okay, will we settle with this civil complaint or just reject it? If they reject it, then the complainant has the option of actually filing a civil lawsuit in federal court. Prior to that, it's not a lawsuit, it's just a complaint, a claim. But if they get turned down, they can file a civil lawsuit. Well, this puts us in a very unethical situation here because Donald Trump controls the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
He appointed the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General, and they're the ones who are going to be in a position as to whether or not to grant his claim that his rights were violated and grant him this $230 million. Now, people might say, well, where does this complaint come from with Trump? Well, he's specifically referring to Jack Smith's investigation of him for his attempted overturning of the 2020 election results and also for his mishandling of highly classified documents.
Yeah, the Mar-a-Lago thing in his bathroom.
Exactly.
Bathroom. Yeah.
And even with that, Trump appointed the federal district court judge in Florida who presided over the documents case. And of course, she dismissed it, claiming on the grounds that Jack Smith's appointment was somehow another unconstitutional. And before Jack Smith had a chance to actually appeal that decision or pursue other charges against Trump in other federal district courts, what happened? Well, we had a re-election and Trump got re-elected. And so now Jack Smith could see it's futile to go ahead with further prosecution because one, when Trump takes office again, he will just order the Attorney General to dismiss the case. Two, the Department of Justice already had a policy that it enacted after Watergate that we don't prosecute sitting presidents. And then three, the death blow for Jack Smith continuing was that the Supreme Court last summer ruled that a sitting president cannot be held liable for any criminal acts that he commits in execution of his duties. So that was one case. The other one was he was complaining about Robert Mueller's Russian interference probe, and he said that that was politically motivated and that he was harmed by that. And he had to incur $230 million of legal costs in defending himself against these two investigations. In the Mueller case, of course, the conclusion was that the Russians interfered with the election, but he didn't have sufficient evidence to hold Trump's campaign officers as involved in collusion with the Russians, nor did he have enough evidence to definitively say that Trump was involved with the Russians. But that didn't mean that it exonerated him. It just meant that Mueller didn't have enough evidence yet gathered from his investigation, and that he was going to have to end the investigation because, again, Trump got reelected. And so he couldn't prosecute him anyway because of the policy, the DOJ policy that you don't prosecute sitting presidents. So, folks, this is your money that's going to get paid out of tax dollars that he's going to get after he escaped accountability for what he did. The insurrection at the Capitol, the fake electors that he tried to substitute, that sort of thing, to overturn the election results. And now he wants to get paid again. He's using it through this situation to get a settlement and shake us down for $230 million at a time when he's building ballrooms and he's cutting off aid to hungry people and people who need health insurance. It's just so callously indifferent towards the American people. I can hardly stand myself talking about it. It's unparalleled in the history of the American presidency, what he's doing. He's got the fix in because the officials who will make the ultimate decision, he controls. So of course they're going to give him the $230 million. And his trying to mitigate it by claiming that he's going to give it to charity, it belies his guilty conscience.
Come on. And the charity would probably be one owned by the Trump family.
Exactly. We know his history back in New York with foundations. He's been ordered to shut down foundations because he cheats. He misuses the funds for his own personal gain.
You know what, Reed? I think at the end of the day, we deserved somebody like this, honestly, because I've been monitoring elections in this country ever since I came here about 42 years back, okay? Mm-hmm. The turnout in the elections is so abysmal, to use the word, 15 to 20% people come out to vote. Yeah. The rest of them are just sitting on their behinds, waiting for things to fall into their lap, and then we get, leaders like this.
Yeah. This is what happens when you abdicate your civil responsibility as a citizen of the United States. Being born in the United States comes with certain responsibilities. One is to participate in the process, not just sit by and let somebody else handle it, because somebody's going to make the decision as to how policies get passed and what policies get passed. Do you want it to be somebody that you had some selection in, or are you just going to abdicate your responsibility to somebody else?
And then you don't have the right to complain.
Yeah.
Right. And we come up with people like Mike Johnson and people like Stephen Miller, who are, Stephen Miller is not an elected official, man, and he's the one who's actually driving the policies for the federal government.
Yeah, he's a scary little gnome, isn't he?
Okay. I can see Sheila laughing over there. Sheila, you need to unmute yourself when you laugh so people can hear you laugh.
That is too funny. A scary little gnome. We're talking about Halloween in a few days. America has the blues. Halloween is coming up, and we have these scary gnomes running around in office. That's a good one to read.
Yeah, I got my Steve Miller costume to go trick-or-treating in. So
that's good. That's real good.
At least you got the hair part of it already in place, Kelly.
and I won't spray on some hair like he did in a Meet the Press segment, I think a couple of years ago in an interview.
Okay.
When I saw that on TV, I just thought, this guy's got to be kidding. This is
And
ridiculous.
meanwhile, any updates on my favorite bear who had hair dye running down his face?
Yeah,
Oh
where did
man.
Rudy go? Where is
Yeah.
Rudy now?
I don't know. He seems to be missing in action. And speaking of bear, folks, we have got the New York mayoral race coming up now next week. I guess November 4th is the elections in New York, and former Governor Andrew Cuomo is going all out trying to throw dirt on Zoran Mamdani. He's pulling every trick in the book,
Mm.
and finally, I guess a couple of days back, Hakeem Jeffries comes on board.
Reluctantly, yeah. Mhm.
Very reluctantly, because maybe his APAC handlers finally told him that, hey, you better jump on this, or we're not going to have an inside person in the administration over there. So Hakeem Jeffries finally says, I'm endorsing Zoran Mamdani. And here's where the Democratic Party is hurting, folks. We are actually, I mean, listen, I'm a Democrat, a proud Democrat, a progressive Democrat, okay? But before that, I'm an American. Finally says I'm endorsing Zoran. Okay, so I don't know where I'm hearing some feedback coming in. Okay.
About endorsing something, yeah.
Yeah, but here's the point. No matter what you are, red, white, or blue, and like when I was traveling recently, and I keep on repeating this, people looked at my passport and it says citizen of the United States of America. That's it, right? It does not say Democrat or Republican or green, white, blue, red, whatever. And that has a lot of value still out in the world out there. And then when I come back over here, there was the No Kings rally. And I really want to get back to that also, folks, because let's not forget it. It's not a one-off thing to have a No Kings rally. We don't have kings in this country. 46 or something was when we decided that we don't want any kings in here. And we don't want, I think there should be a no dictators rally also. Okay. It's time for that.
Yeah, and I really resent. I mean, here, literally, Mohammed, I am a retired federal agent. I am not a Hamas supporter. I wasn't paid to be out there protesting. And yet, Michael Johnson would have you think that I was a paid protester who supports Hamas, and the current presidential press secretary would have you think that I'm a violent person and that I'm also a quote illegal alien here.
Oh boy. Okay. I mean these people are living in an alternate universe. Unfortunately, their actions are impacting us in our day-to-day life. And now we are getting close to the point where I was informed, Sheila, that people are getting letters in the mail saying that their SNAP benefits are going to be delayed or even withheld for November. Just think about it. This is like, taking the bread away from the poorest of the poor. Forget about the health care now that Congress wants to take away. It is now time to what do you call it, enlist or whatever for the Medicare programs and all of that also coming up.
Mhm.
And they want to jump our premiums like crazy. How are we going to survive in this country?
Yeah,
Like
and
you said,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
this is Halloween season. That's all I can say. It's scary. And like Billy Brandt said earlier, the America has the blues. And if everyone is not feeling it, they will eventually feel the blues because it's really what's happening. It's really what's happening.
Well, folks, we are coming up on 9 o'clock. We'll be starting our second hour shortly. And again, if you want to join the conversation, feel free to call in. Our call in line is always sponsored by Ray Hanania of rayhanania.com. You can go and visit his website and look at all his writings that are there in different media. And the number to call in is 773-763-9278. This is the Lightning Strike. We come every Sunday morning from 8 to 10 on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk radio station, and the largest progressive talk radio station in the country, I believe. And you can also listen to us worldwide on the heartlandsignal.com website. And you can go back and check out all the other programming that WCPT has during the week. And they have got some pretty darn good people bringing attention to the issues that matter to us. And always the tagline is everything has to be based on facts.
Yeah.
We are not going to create conjecture over here and come up with all kinds of wild, crazy theories. If it is not based on facts, we are not going to talk about it. It's 9 o'clock. If the station wants to go to a station break, we'll be happy to continue the conversation on Facebook with you while we go for the break. And if not, we will continue with our conversation. I don't think, okay, I think we're taking a station break now.
They were going to the news break, yeah.
Did you know VA home loans are a key to home ownership?
Your career where you traveled enough, and that was our situation, and we were ready to retire from the military.
Okay, so I'm muting the WCPT feed so we can continue our conversation on Facebook. And
Well, I wanted to say something, Mohammed. I could, again, dovetailing off of what Sheila said about the White House.
Go ahead.
You know, the White House is more than just an executive residency. The White House is a symbol. It's an iconic symbol of our democracy. And I really resent that the whole east wing of it has just been torn off to be replaced with this obscene, licentious symbol of prosperity that's concentrated in the hands of a few. This structure that was built by slave labor and is representative of all of us, e pluribus unum, that it's getting replaced, the East Wing, with this obnoxious ballroom structure that just is the symbol of licentious, conspicuous consumption in the ability in the hands of just a few. So I'm just it just appalls me to see that happening.
And we have allowed that to happen, Reed. I mean, that is what really gnaws at my craw over here, that we have allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
And in the past, presidents have done little changes to
I mean,
the
that's fine.
residence.
Okay, you put in a bowling alley, no big deal, right?
Right. And not tearing down the entirety of a wing of the White House property. Like, that's just insane.
It is not his it is not his personal property. And then you look at it and he says that I'm not spending any tax dollars to build this. I'm having people voluntarily give contributions, donations to make this happen.
Yeah. You know where that's going to lead, Mohammed? There's going to be plaques on the wall from Nike. This building brought to you by Nike, or this building brought to you by Amazon, or something. It's going to be obnoxious.
And most of the crypto bros are in on this.
Yeah.
So if you look at the list of contributors or voluntary, again, I'm putting it in quotes, voluntary donations.
Yeah.
Okay. This guy is holding people over a barrel with a gun to their head and saying you either pay up or those federal contracts are a no-go for you.
Yeah. Yeah, between the federal contracts and the government subsidies, like to the petroleum industry, you remember back some months ago where Trump had said that, oh, I'd like to get donations to my campaign from you oil companies, and if you do in exchange, it wasn't quite that blatant, but it was heavily implied, I will make sure that the regulations that prevent you from making all kinds of money off of your oil and drilling, those will fade away. Those regulations.
It's about 4 minutes into the hour, and I'm asking WCPT to unmute so that we can get back into the feed over there and continue the conversation over here. So, folks, this is again the Lightning Strike. We come every Sunday morning to you on WCPT, and we also go live on the heartlandsignal.com website and on my Facebook page, on WCPT's Facebook page, and also after the show, you can go back and visit our website. And the new website that I was working on got delayed a little bit because of my travel, and we are unable to really connect to the new website. But give it a week, and we will make sure that the new website is up. Meanwhile, you can go to tlschicago.com for the Lightning Strike Chicago, and we have to really update quite a few of the other programs that I was unable to do while I was traveling. Carl Moose is joining us also, and we'd like to
Welcome
bring
back
Carl
to the
Moose
Lightning
in.
Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Lightning Strike. Our commercial break is over, station break is over. You're tuned in to the Lightning Strike. We come every Sunday morning on WCPT if you're listening to us worldwide. Carl, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, welcome. And we'll get into your segment in just a few minutes after we go through our regular programming. It's about 9:05, and Adriana has not joined us today, but she did send me a clip that she wants me to play. And let me see if I can line that up and play that clip from Adriana Alvarez, our regular contributor over here, one of our producers. And I'm trying to see if I can bring her segment into play over here. So while I'm doing that, folks, again, the number to call in that you can join the conversation is 773-763-9278. Again, let me repeat that number, 773-763-9278 to join the conversation. And after the show, you can always call us at 312-TLS-8182. Here's Adriana's clip. Let's see if I can play that for you. Okay, let me see if I can share that. I'm having some issue playing that, so I'm not sure that I would be able to play that clip for you today. So we'll bring Adriana in again next week. But at 9:15, I'll be having former Congresswoman Murray Newman join us with her segment on what's that she wants to talk about is ignore at your risk. And Murray brings in some great content, some great guests today. We're going to be playing an interview that Murray had with Congresswoman Delia Ramirez on her Substack page. So stay tuned for that. And I want to continue the conversation, meanwhile, Reed, with what we were discussing. What is happening at the federal level now? And people must be wondering, why do these guys keep talking about Trump all the time? It is not so much about Trump, folks. It is about our country.
Yes.
Trump is just the symbol of the rot that is happening in our country. And what do they say? When a fish starts rotting, it starts from the head.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're plummeting into a plutocracy, not a democracy. And I go back to the year 2010 when we had Citizens United versus the FEC. This is pretty much the root of it, that we started allowing big money get into our politics and allowing big money donors paying for the campaigns for candidates for public office, instead of allowing the people, the ordinary people, decide who our candidates are going to be and who's going to get elected to office. And it's just, we just legalized bribery is what we did. This doesn't happen in other countries, but we have legalized political bribes in this country through super PACs and PACs and so on and so forth. There was a time when that wasn't allowed in this country. Corporations weren't allowed to make donations to to individuals. Corporations weren't considered people for campaign purposes or political purposes, maybe as a legal entity, but not in the sense
not for political purposes. Yeah, you're right.
So it just.
So Reed, how do we unwind this spool now?
Well, the people have got to stop being disillusioned by our state of affairs with our government right now and start getting angry about it and taking charge. And instead of not going to the polls to vote at all, just sitting it out, don't do that. You're abdicating your responsibilities. go out and vote, doggone it, and protest when they start doing things like trying to gerrymander congressional districts and legislative districts, or suppress people's right to vote by making it more difficult for them to vote. They've got to protest this. And then when they do get out to vote, make sure they vote for somebody who will not stand for that and will propose legislation to stop it. Right now, unfortunately, the legislation that was so hard fought for, blood was shed for things like the 1965 Voting Rights Act, is being dismantled by some politicians in black robes on the Supreme Court. And that wouldn't be happening if we didn't have the kind of president we had who appointed these people, and people like Mitch McConnell, who blocked the appointment of a couple of justices that would have been of a total different philosophical bent or legislative bent than the ones who are there right now. They stole two positions on the Supreme Court. We've got to participate in our democracy, folks, and then get some members of Congress with an iron backbone, have some backbone, because if they were doing the responsible thing right now, they would be impeaching this man who currently occupies the White House, and the Senate would be convicting him. And they've let us down, and the Supreme Court has let us down. So it's up to us, the people, now to take our control, exercise our control. We're the boss, not them. That's it. We've got to be responsible.
Well, let's take a quick phone call from Ron about the potential invasion of Venezuela, which I had referred to earlier. So, Ron, what say you, man?
Oh, Ron dropped.
Okay, Ron dropped. Okay, fine. So, in my opening monologue, folks, I was talking about the U.S. preparing for another war now with Venezuela, with Pete Hegseth, in a drunken stupor, sending an entire fleet over there now, redirecting them to go to Venezuela and be prepared for action. These guys are going nuts, and we are allowing that to happen. And I want to bring in Murray earlier today. If we can, Murray, if you would please, if you want to join the conversation. So much happening. Folks, former Congresswoman Murray Newman joining us now with her segment on Ignore at Your Risk. And Murray has got a couple of great interview clips that she sent me with Congresswoman Delia Ramirez that she wanted to talk about. But Murray, why don't you take over and talk about what's on your mind, or what are we ignoring at our own risk? I've been talking constantly about taking back this country and holding our elected representatives accountable. There are very few of them that I know of, like Delia Ramirez, who is out there really, really, really taking the torch to these people now. Go ahead, Marie.
Sure. Well, I agree. First of all, I think that we need more voices, but I'm so very grateful. There's, as I calculate, 15 or 20 members of Congress that are really out there a great deal, not just being fiery, but trying to think of workarounds. Like, you have to appreciate the people as such as the Attorney General in Arizona suing Johnson to get Congresswoman-elect Adelita Gravala into her spot, right? Like those creative workarounds are the things that will make a difference. And because of the frequency and virulent nature of Trump and his cabinet and this lame GOP Congress, all of their activity is nonstop. So we have to think of nonstop creative ways to get around these things until we swing back power. And so for me, I'm focusing on two things. How can I be supportive of that 15 or 20 that is willing to speak out? And it may not be in your state, folks, because they're kind of spread out throughout the US, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to be doing a Substack on the new guard versus old guard, because I believe the new guard has nothing to do with age, by the way. This new guard group of people are the ones willing to speak out and lead, are not our current kind of established leaders that we have the titles you think they should have. These are people that are just ad hoc in Congress. So I'll be talking about my Substack in the coming weeks. So new guard versus old guard, look for that. I'm focusing on those folks, but I'm also focusing on how do we win this sucker in 26? It's there are some hidden issues. So there's things that I think Democrats and independents aren't calculating, that don't have the lived experience. So If 60% of the nation lives paycheck to paycheck, and that's probably being, I'm a little off on that, but about 60% of the nation lives paycheck to paycheck, what are they worrying about all the time? Fair wages. And that's, I think, a winning piece across all political stripes, right? And I kind of brought the receipts today, if you'd like me to share those with you. So interestingly, in 26 and 28, the reason I think fair wages will win back those independents that went to Trump, it kind of goes like this, right? Is that we know Trump is vehemently against unions and increasing wages and benefits and keeping people safe, just to be clear. He's gotten rid of the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board.
Yep.
And he's also gotten rid of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now it still exists, but he is
And he's
neutered
gutting
that.
OSHA also, Marie. Let's not forget it.
Yeah, OSHA too. But BLM, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or BLS, sorry, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, he's neutered them to the point where they are no longer kind of looked to for numbers, right? Now, this was before the shutdown. They're not sharing numbers right now because they're in shutdown mode. So now folks like Goldman Sachs and other economic groups are putting out numbers. Now, they're not favorable to Trump, to be clear. This last set of numbers that came out from the various groups, wow, we lost jobs. We lost not just jobs were not being created, but we were in a negative space. Unemployment was up, and then wages stayed stagnant, right? And we know, we in the world that live in the world, in the everyday world, know that wages have been stagnant for a long time, for decades. So this is a winning thing, and here's why. So in our cities, A and B size cities, so that's the top 75 cities, 66% of city voters believe there should be a $30 an hour wage. 55% of voters in swing districts, very purple if not red, support a $25 an hour wage. And then 72% of young voters, which means voters under 40, support any type of significant. They no longer think $15 an hour is appropriate. That's universal. Well, we knew that 10 years ago. So I've been in the $15 an hour wage fight for 20 years, and it was okay 20 years ago. Now it's not okay. It's crazy to think that that would be right. So 84% of Black and Latino voters believe a significant increase is a top 2 issue priority. So 84%. So if Trump received a bump from the Black and Latino communities in his voting, if we scrape off a few of those, and clearly they feel very strongly about this very important issue, then let's bring them back, right? For a reason, though. Let's bring them back for a reason. So I think that we should not risk ignoring fair wages as a top tier plank. I've told as you guys know, I'm working with a couple of presidential candidate hopefuls, and I'm telling you, you got to jump on this, because this also our problem is significant for the Democrats in Appalachia and the South. And this helps bring that back, because there's a disproportionate number of folks that live paycheck to paycheck and don't receive a good living wage in those areas. So we can bring them back in that way. So don't ignore that. On Wednesday, on my Substack Live podcast, I had Congresswoman Delia Ramirez. She's one of my 15 or 20 fighters in Congress. I really appreciate her expertise around immigration and her ability to understand the American public. One of the things I'm looking for in the candidates that I support and the incumbents I support is, do you really understand people? Do you talk to voters every day? Do you talk to people? Do you understand what their dilemma is on an everyday basis? Because our everyday context is what will matter. And so she really does. So as Mohammed tees up the 2 clips I have from Congresswoman Delia Ramirez from my Wednesday Substack Live, a little bit of background. So we spoke about immigration in the context of how do we protect ourselves? What is she most worried about? What are we ignoring with regard to this issue? And what kept coming up is that, Trump is really doing this kind of immersion model with us, right? Is that he keeps shoving all of these nasty masked dudes out into major cities so that we get used to it. And what I mean by that is that, so like it's immersion therapy, right? Is that he keeps giving you a little more and a little more awfulness, right? And so we get used to seeing these awful characters hurting our and being unlawful to our neighbors and friends, right? So Delia brought up a really good point. And if you're teed up, you can go ahead and play it, Mohammed, about this issue. That in fact,
Well, let me see if I can bring up her interview, and why don't you keep on talking?
Sure. Effectively, what Congresswoman Ramirez said is that we are normalizing this, right? Is that whether in our hope to make our life a little bit better, we're trying to normalize life overall, and therefore we're probably not giving the sheer terror that immigrants and immigrant communities are under right now in the hopes to normalize our lives. Well, there's no
play that clip
normalizing.
for you.
Great, thank you. Go ahead and play this from Congresswoman Delia
And
Ramirez.
we're ignoring is how much we're normalizing this moment, Marie. That in our desire to survive what we're seeing, the attacks on every single community. Because you and I both know it's not just immigrant communities, it's not just veterans, it's not just people unhoused, it's not just the trans community. Every single community is under attack by this fascist government. That in our attempt to mentally make it, we begin to normalize so much of what we're reading and watching. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible that he's doing this, but he did this other thing. And so I really want to caution people to be reminded that none of this is normal.
Yep.
That creating a new precedent doesn't make it acceptable or doesn't make it right.
Yeah, I think so well said.
Yep.
It just is so alarming that we're getting used to this stuff. So don't get used to the message here, folks, is from leaders like Congresswoman Ramirez is don't allow this to be normalized. Keep fighting, keep speaking up, go to the ICE detention center in Broadview, go to all the protests. And just as a reminder, as long as we're talking about it, that, we have some very important dates. I just want to be clear with everybody. I'm going to be mom today. There will be no purchases. There will be no e-commerce. There will be no in-person commerce. There will be no buying of anything, not so much as toothpaste, on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. No buying. Nobody can buy a damn thing, period.
Let's repeat that, Marie. And Black Friday is what date now? Let's make sure that
so Black Friday is always the Friday right after Thanksgiving.
Right.
So easy to remember. Thanksgiving Day, you can, go to Walgreens and get something last minute for your dinner. On Friday, you do not buy anything. Absolutely not. You buy your, if you're someone that buys Christmas presents, then you buy those another day. And by the way, we should all be curbing what we're buying in general. And we definitely shouldn't be buying from folks like Target, Walmart, Amazon, and there's a long list. And go to any of my Substacks and I list those folks. So no buying on Black Friday. Then Cyber Monday is the following Monday after Thanksgiving. And there is no buying that day either. We must show everybody, all of these retailers, and anybody you purchase goods and services from, that we are powerful. So folks, this is what we're doing. So you understand, is we did our No Kings protests. We'll continue those. Got 7 million people, started out with 3, went to 5. Now we're at 7 million people. And with this mini general strike on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, we are demonstrating our economic prowess and that we are more powerful than this administration. So no buying of anything. Tell your friends.
Awesome. Thank you, Marie.
And then at some point, we're going to get to a general strike, which would be a much more significant. We'd probably do that by isolating industries like transportation or, goods and services, wherever we might be.
And Marie, I think we need to also start targeting these so-called people who have donated money for the Grand Ballroom. There's a whole list of companies out there that are sucking up to Trump by donating. He's holding them over a barrel with a rifle to their head,
right?
Claiming that they are donating money for his Grand Ballroom.
Right.
Make that list widely available and hold those people accountable also.
And that's an easy Google search, folks. A lot of people have written about the group of companies that have donated for the Gilded Age ballroom that is large and tacky and ugly. If I can editorialize, because I can. So there's that. Two other points I want to make, folks, about things to watch that are a little bit hidden and are getting ignored. First of all, voter registration. If I can ask everybody in earshot of this show today to make sure that your friends in purple states and red states get registered, because they're likely just as angry as we are as Democrats. They're very angry about the economy. And so make sure that they're registered and that they turn out. Because at some point we're going to have we have to have so many people voting that you cannot call it a quote unquote Trump rigged election.
Yep.
We just can't. We have to have so many people voting that it's just undeniable on the election day for 2026 and 2028. Now I'm going to leave you with some very good news. And while I think everybody knows that is listening today. That I'm not always in agreement with the Democratic Party on everything, and I think they could do a lot of things better. And I'm not one to vote for the lesser of two evils. So keep pushing Democrats to be better, and we do need new leadership. So having said all that, I do have some good news about saving the country, is that on the generic congressional ballot across all the top pollsters, so Quinnipiac, Ipsos, Gallup, all those folks, we are the Democrats in the congressional ballot, which is just the generic, would you vote for a Democrat or a Republican in Congress question, we are leading by 7 to 9 points. So people are getting it that, wow, these Republicans not only don't get anything done, they're taking away all of our rights and taking away all of our services, and we're suffering, and the economy's in the doo-doo bucket.
And Marie, I was talking about people getting notices now that their SNAP benefits are going to be impacted for November.
Oh, that's absolutely, well, that's horrible for people that need that. Something like 35% of the elderly population relies on some form of SNAP. And then in red states, this is interesting, in red states, up to 40 and 45% people use it at some point in a given year. So good luck getting them to vote for Republicans. This is so what people don't get. This is real people. It's not a game. It's not a number. It's real people that are going to be very, very hungry and sicker because of what Trump has done. So make sure you get your red state and purple state folks to register to vote. And we are making progress on the generic ballot, folks. So that is good news. Remember Cyber Monday, no buying anything. Don't even look at a website. No looking, perusing, buying, or anything. And the day after Thanksgiving, which is known as Black Friday, no purchases whatsoever. And that will show us our power. So I'll throw it back to Mohammed.
I want to conclude by playing the other clip that you sent me about.
Thank you.
Delia. So here it is, folks. And let's listen to
a legal thing, the follow the law thing that they're doing, that they can be immediately arrested by paperwork people that are responsible for passports, visas, and green cards. But two is he wants to create his own force within Homeland Security. That loyalty is not to the country, not to the Constitution, but to Donald Trump.
Right.
Because I think he fears that the armed services who have taken an oath to protect the homeland, to protect, and they've taken an oath seriously to protect our Constitution, our democracy, may not always be loyal to him, because their loyalty is to the country and not to him. So he is talking about establishing within the guidelines of Homeland Security the kind of police or army force, and he's already financed $150 billion towards it in the bill that he passed, so that they be the force that he uses to try to end free and fair elections.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't what we were seeing or what we think will happen, but it's exactly what we see in the way that they are using that agency.
Okay, folks, so that there you go. And that is something that we really, really have to be concerned about. And Marie, I was talking right in the beginning about how we take things for granted and then we complain.
Right.
We got to get out and vote. And once we vote, that does not end there.
That's right.
We got to
It's much
hold
more
our
than voting.
elected representatives accountable. Go to their town halls, call them up, email them every single day. Follow what they're doing to represent your interest, man. Come on. It's our country. We got to take it back. We can't just sit back and lie down and say that, hey, the government is doing it. The government is nothing, they don't come from outer space.
No, just two things to not ignore there. Make sure that you get your friends and family out to vote. And then secondly, this secret police force is real that Congresswoman Ramirez was talking about. Do pay attention to it. Speak up about it. We cannot have, effectively, it's a Gestapo. Let's just call it what it is. I just need to be clear with everyone. It's a Gestapo.
And Trump's version of SS.
We don't want to Gestapo speak up about it. And I'll turn it over to Mohammed and Maria. I know she's got a lot to share today.
Thank you, Marie. And folks, that was the former Congresswoman Marie Newman and Substack author, all around great person, trying to bring sanity back to our political discussions over here, especially a message here for the Democratic Party leadership. Okay, you guys have to step up. You guys have got to take leadership at the real meaning of leadership. With that, I want to bring in Maria Muzaffar, legislative attorney. Maria, please bring in and break the echo chamber for us. What's on your mind?
Good morning. Thank you, Marie, for the insight. I think let's start off with the SNAP benefits across the board and understand, as Marie said, that people in red states need SNAP benefits. And when we think about why SNAP benefits would not be a priority for any administration, it's when you feel that those individuals that need help are taking up space, and it's better if they are dismissed. So we have to always think about efficiency and the business perspective. You cannot run a government and serve individuals as if they're consumers. So we need to analyze it from that perspective. And that's how you can dismiss healthcare for people that are sick because they're going to die anyway, right? I mean, I'm being quite blunt about it. Or hungry people or people that do not have the capacity to be in the workforce for whatever reason they may have and need help. They're taking up space from someone who thinks that the nation is a business. And so whoever thinks that way is going to support those cuts. If you don't think that way, then you should oppose it. Thank you for sharing the words from Congresswoman Ramirez. I do agree with you. She's one of the frontline elected officials that are taking the fight. I do want to bring attention to the fact that there were hearings in Chicago with Congresswoman Jayapal and Congresswoman Ramirez, and they bought, I believe, 15 elected officials to get ahead of the media talking points that may not share the stories of the individuals that are being detained, including U.S. citizens. I echo Marie's sentiment that what's going to really cross the line here are creative ways to bring out the story and educate the constituency. And this hearing was exactly that. And this happened just this last week. And there's also a follow-up press conference in which I want to echo a term that was brought up. There's a question asked of the congressional elected officials that were there about illegal aliens. And Mayor Johnson pushed back and said, we do not have illegal aliens in our state. We categorize them as the undocumented. Again, once you use the word illegal aliens, you are talking about individuals that are less than human or less than somebody else. So we need to talk about it in those terms, that these are undocumented individuals. One thing that we spoke about is the legislation called No Secret Police Act. Now, I want to echo Marie's statements here is that we have a situation where legislations are not going to be pushed through when there's a majority that's going to be blocking what we want to see. So we need to use these creative ways to educate the public and really have those talking points to be able to win those midterms. That's really what's going to happen, because we're going to need to know how we distinguish ourselves from people that are pro-Constitution or anti-Constitution. And one of the things that we talked about is with the Secret Police Act that Congresswoman Ramirez is actually pushing is the notion of, and we've talked about this before, the 3 ways that we can address these detention issues. Federal cameras, training on family issues when there's children involved and de-escalating hostile situations. So do you have training that you can de-escalate? Have you been on those types of situations? And clearly from what we're seeing, throwing tear gas before kids are going to Halloween parade Sunday morning is not de-escalating, right? Leaving kids on the side of the road means you're not trained on how to deal with children when they're in these issues where their parents are being detained. Third, if you're not having those cameras, then you're not understanding the transparency and the accountability that will protect you as an agent as well. Now, from my understanding on conversations with the legislative directors of different elected officials that are the front 15 liners, what we are seeing is that elected officials that are sitting on the Homeland Security Subcommittee that can ask the administration, how are you using this money? How are you protecting the individuals? How are you following the law? None of that information has been given to the Homeland Security Subcommittee. And also, they cannot ask for more funding because the government is shut down. So when the response is from the administration, we actually can't get these cameras on these federal agents because there was a federal judge that ruled you need to have cameras on these agents. The administration responded, I'm sorry, it's going to be very difficult. You cannot get money for it from the Homeland Security Committee, but guess what? There's a big, beautiful bill that had billions of dollars. I want to know where that money is being spent if you cannot afford cameras for these agents. So I just want to address these 3 points very critically. Please write to your elected officials that are the front 15 liners, even if they're not your elected officials, and reaffirm these 3 asks again and again so it's brought on the congressional floor. We need federal cameras. We need training for children in hostile situations, and also addressing the $50,000, $40,000 bonus. Now, this was something that was debated in the beginning. Are individuals being offered these bonuses? Go to the website. Go to the website for ICE. There's an Uncle Sam pointing at you and says, "We'll give you $50,000 bonus." Now, the $50,000 bonus is not. Does not have any requirements according to that website, other than that you're 18. So these are where these 3 elements have to be very critically analyzed. Do you have a camera? Do you have training, right? For kids and hostile situations. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the Department of Education. So the Department of Education, I don't want to lose focus on that because Department of Education, as you know, is, to be dismantled and completely taken away. And I just want to remind the audience why the Department of Education existed. The Department of Education existed because when it was post-integration, there was discriminatory practices across the country where Black students were still not allowed to go into schools. Okay. And for that reason, the Department of Education was allowed to have a role in making sure that states themselves are not being discriminatory, even though the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed, because implementation and passing legislation is very different, as Marie can echo. They're very, very different. You can pass legislation of people on the ground and local politics and are creating obstacles and policies. They don't affect change. And so the Department of Education's role was that. So when you give the power back to the states, this is what happens. And the fear will be that you will see more and more situations where our public schools will be allowed to discriminate against students, against curriculums, against policies, against things that people think are important. Adding on to that education aspect, I think most of you have seen the news article that there was a lawsuit filed against Northwestern University. If you don't know that, let me give you some background. The Northwestern University lawsuit basically echoes the fact that 300 students were not allowed to enroll back into school because they did not watch a video that was created that addresses anti-Semitism. The critique from these students, 300 of them, stated that the video was imbalanced and needed to be addressed as far as nuances. Now, this is my statement to this issue. No matter what you define as propaganda, online seminars will never build relationships on college campuses or any school campuses. Open dialogue will. Islamophobia and anti-Semitism will not be addressed by online seminars in a room. And this is why it's so important for us to protect freedom of speech and understand that freedom of speech is under attack. I want to close by saying, if any of you have not seen the recent speech of Zoran Mamdani on Islamophobia, please do. It's one of the most powerful words that he has, I think, in my opinion, he has spoken that addresses issues across the country. And it is in response to the fact that Cuomo had addressed in a podcast that if New York City had a 9/11 and Mamdani was in charge, could you imagine what would happen to that city? And then he continued to say, the podcast host says, well, he would probably be cheering, and Cuomo agreed. Right? So this conversation is directly related to political rhetoric and dehumanization of individuals at the highest level. And one thing that Mamdani states, which I 100% agree with, is that racism and political rhetoric is not unique to any political party. Cuomo is now an independent, was a leader in the Democratic Party. And so both the Democrats and the Republicans have to address the issues of deep-seated racism that we cannot afford anymore. And one more thing I want to close with is that J.D. Vance had stated, when asked about the questions of the leaked email of the individuals that were young Republicans, speaking in very, very unpleasant terms about other ethnicities and groups, extremely racist, his response was, they're just kids. You say stupid things in college. Let's focus on the real issues. I'll tell you what the real issue is. The real issue is political rhetoric and political violence, according to the Republican administration. This is what causes political violence. And if these students are just kids, so are the students on college campuses that are not allowed to return into universities after advocating for a ceasefire in Gaza and a limit to atrocities in Gaza, and are not even allowed to speak and are being censored and their visas revoked. So for some reason, there's a hierarchy in freedom of speech and content in who you are. Let's get back to the basics. And the basics is, and I would echo what Marie has stated as well, let's get back to the basics and make it really simple. Break the echo chamber. You're either pro-Constitution or you're anti-Constitution. You're either seeing the governments run a country as a business or serving citizens. So decide how you want to see your country run, no matter what side of the aisle you are in. Even if you're a Democrat, if you're a Democrat that believes that citizens are consumers, we're going to get back into the same problem. And I'll end it at that. Thank you.
Well, Maria, thank you so much. I wanted Reed to kind of chime in on this as far as the ICE agents and the qualifications and things are concerned. As one of the former special agents special supervisory agent for ICE, Reed and I had this discussion in the first hour of the program. Reed, you want to chime in and answer some of the concerns that Maria has raised about the ICE training and all that?
Absolutely. And I appreciate Maria raising these points because we have strayed. Like I mentioned, I was one of the charter members of ICE back in the early 2000s. And at that time, when we were just a new amalgam of a bunch of different agencies thrown together, we all had a standard that was much higher than what it is right now. For one thing, your recruitment of new agents, you had a minimum standard that was supposed to reflect somebody who had an education of some sort, some kind of sense of indication that they had sensitivity. We wanted a bachelor's degree. Maybe it was in psychology, maybe it was in political science or whatever, but something that showed that you were trained to think. And they had longer training periods back then. Now we have this truncated training that doesn't even include another language, because they don't teach Spanish apparently anymore, from what I understand, at the academy, even though the overwhelming majority of people in the southwestern part of the United States speak Spanish. You'd think that that'd be a requirement. They don't have that any longer. I think it's less than half of what the training period used to be. We used to teach de-escalation. Was the official policy. You de-escalate. Well, how are you de-escalating when you're wearing masks and hoods and you can't see the badge? That sets people off. It makes them nervous and upset, and they don't even know if you're an agent or not. That's far from de-escalating a situation. So we got to get back and teaching constitutional law and criminal procedure and civil rights. That seems to have been thrown out the window. I'm just shocked at this. I used to teach immigration law for a while down there at the academy. I'm wondering what they're teaching now. And Maria's comment about how government is not a business. I have said this for decades. My wife has too. She's written papers on it, because government is not a business. Government is a service to the people to help promote general welfare, which is where I take a parting of the ways with libertarians, for example, and also even with Republicans, because we're not supposed to be promoting a laissez-faire capitalism. We're supposed to be promoting the general welfare. A certain degree of capitalism is great, but there wouldn't even be capitalism if it weren't for government regulations. It's like trying to have a basketball game with no rules. It just doesn't happen. You know, the government helps to set up a market. So I really appreciate what she's saying. And this business of now making the color of your skin being brown the equivalent of even probable cause, much less reasonable suspicion, is absurd. It totally violates the Constitution. We are not teaching law enforcement people the Constitution anymore, and we're not holding them accountable to abide by it. So we're losing our Constitution slowly.
Okay, Reed, thank you so much for that input, man. And folks, this is what we have been talking about, and this is what Marie was talking about. This is what Maria is talking about. This is our country, folks. Let's take it back, and we just cannot sit back and allow it to happen. Just don't wait till the next election to go vote and then come back and sit at home. Make sure that, like Marie was saying, go to the purple states, call people up, friends and family that you know. Make sure that they register to vote and they come out to vote. And if we throw enough registered voters and votes at them, they're going to try to steal the election for sure. They're trying every which one way now. Yes, Reed, go ahead.
One last point, Mohammed, I want to say what Maria pointed out too. There was never a time I would have even conceived flexi-cuffing a child. We never used to do that until Trump got into office. This is just obscene, folks. You don't flexi-cuff children and separate them from their parents and leave them unattended for hours at a time. Where's the humanity in this? And that's my concern, is that we have not screened new agents for any kind of propensity for demonstrating humanity and understanding that this is democracy. So it's just getting very frightening, folks, and we do have to stand up. We do have to get to the polls. I want to urge people to help volunteer to register people. Just get a little training from your county clerk, and you can be certified to go out and register people if you've got the time. A lot of retirees out there, you want to do some volunteer work, that would be a very good investment of your time.
And again, it's our country, folks. Let's take it back. And that is something that I want to leave you all with on today's message. Carl, if you could please unmute yourself, and we'd like to hear from you also as to what is on your mind today. Maria, thank you for breaking the echo chamber on that. And Marie, please continue your segment of Ignore at your risk, because it's our country, folks. Let's face it, it's our country, okay? It's of the people, by the people, for the people. It is not by the oligarchs, for the oligarchs, and by the oligarchs, right? And not even for all of these people that are throwing money at Trump and his cohorts, hoping to curry favor for the next big war that is coming up now. I mean, I can just hear the war drums now, Marie, with Hegseth in his drunken stupor, asking the Navy to take an entire fleet and head over towards Venezuela. Why? Because Trump wants to go on land after the drug dealers. Give me a better excuse, please.
Yeah, no, I actually don't think it's that calculated. I don't think it's about that he's worried about drugs. I don't think it's he knows that it's very limited in this really crass and horrifying and really immoral way of killing a group of 50 people on a small boat. Like, I don't think he really thinks, nor does the Army, nor does anybody, or the Navy, or anybody who's engaged in this process. I don't think they think that that's going to have any level of impact on the drug cartels.
Yep.
I don't think that. I think this is more of his weird and creepy battleship game, metaphorically speaking. He has this battleship game, if everybody remembers it's a combination of Risk, remember that game, board game, and then Battleship. And he plays these little cards, and he thinks everything is a sick game, and so does Hegseth. And then these poor, the 800 generals in our armed services are like, what do? We are really, we support the Constitution. When they ask us to do this stuff, what do we do? And that's where it's like they've got to be our bulwark because the Supreme Court is not our bulwark. So I'm really hoping that 800 generals who clearly didn't enjoy Hegseth's words a
Yep.
couple weeks ago really stand up and say, no, this is not based in constitutional law, what we're doing. So to answer your question directly, I don't think it's about the drugs and I don't think it's about anything. I think it's about being scary and intimidating and having the world fear the United States, not respect, not love, not work with, but fear the United States.
And that needs to change. On that
I,
note,
I, ag- I agree.
go ahead, Maria.
No, I just wanted to add, kind of piggybacking on what Reed was saying and Maria saying as well. Reed ended his statement by saying it's getting very scary. So, and I understand that. And I think for the mass public, we have to be able to know that when you're getting scared, the tactic is working. And so see it as just that, as a tactic. And so stepping out of that fear space and walking into, okay, we have to figure out how we're going to counter violations of the Constitution. That's where all of our energy has to be. I do want to state, I had stated, speaking to elected officials, talking about the Constitution, also write op-eds. Please write op-eds as much as you can to educate the public. If you have the ability to communicate with people on social media, talk about it in the terms of the Constitution. I think that's really, really going to help Reed to move away from fear because it's going to empower people to understand that the Constitution is being violated. It doesn't matter who's violating the Constitution. We can't allow it. Right? So that's why by the people makes sense and for the people, because the people have to understand that they have to step and protect the document that protects them.
Absolutely, folks. And thank you again so much, Maria. Thank you, Marie, for joining us. Carl, what's on your mind today, my friend? Thank you so patiently for waiting.
Yeah, no worries. Welcome home, Mahat. I hope you had a great trip.
I had a great trip and I almost died after I came back. I don't know if you know that part of it or not.
No, I didn't hear about that, but I'm glad you're here.
I was severely dehydrated. I was in the hospital for 5 days. I had 16 bags of IV fluids and antibiotics pumped into me and came home on Friday so that I can do the show on Sunday.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad you're better. That's terrible.
No matter what the show goes on. Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, so I just really quickly I want to touch. Last week I was up in Grand Rapids visiting a company that's been around for about 25 years, and they've developed a green roof. You know, being in the energy business, we're partnering with them. They have a technology where they put green roofs on top of municipal buildings and commercial buildings. Really, really interesting stuff. The gentleman that owns the company has been there for 40 years. His father started. He's a horticulturist, has about 300 acres. And, from a science and technology perspective, they developed these patented plants that can last for 40 years. And they go up on roofs to help retain water and to make the roof more energy efficient, which is really interesting. And I didn't even know this technology was out there. So it's something that we're collaborating with them because we actually put solar panels above the plants, and the plants are able to survive underneath the solar panels. And the solar panels actually are more efficient because the plants help keep them cool. So it was just a really interesting technology that I was completely unaware of, and they're implementing that in buildings in Chicago and all over the country. So it was just something really interesting that I thought I'd bring to everybody's attention. But you can actually build a roof that will last for 40 or 50 years, which is about double the length of time that most roofs last, when you put these plants and these they call them live roofs on top. So it was just something really interesting that I came across last week. Not real technical, but it's something that's helping the environment and that I thought I'd bring to the listeners' attention.
Wonderful. Thank you, Carl. And that's so interesting. There's a lot of people who are working to make a difference, a positive difference. Meanwhile, our elected representatives are working to make a positive difference to their bank account. Okay, that's all they're working at, and that is something that I'm monitoring. Read the FEC filings of these congressional candidates now and others who are trying to run in the primaries. You will be surprised at how much money these people are raising and who are putting up the money for these people. So, I mean, this is public information, folks. And this is something that you can go back and check. And obviously, now APAC are getting their behind smoked in a big way. And more candidates are coming out openly and saying, we are not accepting any APAC contributions now. So that is probably one of the better outcomes of all of this activity that we have been constantly talking about. That at least we're having. Somebody sent me a meme the other day, Reed. It said that we have three houses of three parties in Congress. The majority party is APAC, okay, and then we have the Democrats and we have the Republicans.
It seems to be a factual thing. That's the case in fact, but we are making progress. As you know, last week Kelly Robinson was on, and she told me that she's not taking APAC money. So
Yep.
she's running for the Senate. So maybe we got to start there.
We got to start with people that are taking responsibility for actually representing us as our representatives. Carl, we need to talk after the show is over, and we need to definitely touch base and catch up on the conversations that we have been having. So, folks, it's 9:55. We got about 5 minutes to finish off the show, and we have been discussing quite a few topics. It is not, please don't get me wrong, it is not about Trump bashing every Sunday. We don't want to do this every Sunday to bash Trump, but what else can we do? He is supposed to be the leader of the country, not the leader of a cult. And if he continues to behave like the leader of a cult, we've got to hold him accountable. We've got to hold his policies accountable. It's starting to hurt. It's starting to hurt a lot of people. Just think about it. We are like almost a month into a government shutdown now. When you're not getting paid, our troops are not getting paid. It seems like someone made a donation, again, I mean, in quotes, a donation of $130 million to pay our troops. What the heck kind of a country are we running? Carl, I've got a question here for everyone, okay? When we can give out $40 billion to a foreign country as aid, and we can't even pay our own troops, we are asking people to make a donation to pay our troops. Something is wrong, and something does not pass the smell test. And that is what we have to ask when we go to a congressional town hall or something, when we go to these meetings that these candidates are trying to address. I was listening to a candidate on WCPT who's running for the 8th district talk about his grandiose plans of bringing back business from overseas because he's a businessman. And I called in and I pointed out that when the existing congressman for 3 terms could not prevent business from going out of the country, what makes you so sure that you're going to bring back those businesses as a first-time congressman? They cut me off. Okay. But these are the kind of people that want to represent us. And I was told that he has given a loan of $300,000 to his campaign to show that he is leading, he's the second leading candidate in raising money. I mean, these are the kind of people that want to represent us. Come on, folks. Let us make it real. Elections are around the corner, and it is up to us to take back our country. I cannot overemphasize that. Thank you, Reed. Thank you, Dolly. Thank you, Dr. Sheila, for bringing in Billy Branch today, man. What a legend to have on our show. This guy is like the absolute, right, Dolly?
I mean, growing up, I've heard so much about him, and I mean, to my dad, he saw him in Roses growing up when he was 18. So just
And that is the
crazy.
kind of value that Dr. White has brought to the show. That's the kind of value that Carl is bringing to the show with all of these information about what is happening that is good for the environment, the kind of value that Reed is bringing, Maria is bringing, Marie is bringing. Ken is missing the conversation today. And I want everyone to be aware, folks, that this is a show of the people, by the people, for the people. It is not my show. But if you cannot bring any kind of valid contributions to the discussion, please don't say that you are part of the show. And that is something that I want to leave you all with. Think about it. We got a week now. What can we bring that can make a difference to the society that we live in and make this a better world for all of us going forward? On that note, it is the Lightning Strike. We come every Sunday morning. Please go to our website, tlschicago.com, and we'll be uploading some of these shows that were missed during my travels. And I look forward to hearing from you and seeing and talking to you all again next week, same place, same time.
Have a good week, Chicago.
The preceding program, The Lightning Strike, was sponsored by Mohammed Fahim, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of Heartland Signal, LLC, or its management.
NBC News Radio, I'm Scott Carr. President Trump says he'll increase tariffs on Canada after he saw a Canadian TV ad against his global tariffs. In a post Saturday, Trump said he's raising the tariff on Canadian imports by 10%. Trump said earlier he was cutting off trade negotiations with Canada after seeing the ad, which used a 1987 video of President Ronald Reagan warning how tariffs hurt every American. President Trump has helped to broker a peace agreement between Cambodia and Thailand.
Fighting broke out between Cambodia and Thailand back in July after a border conflict escalated. After 5 days of fighting, the two countries brokered a truce, which led to this weekend's agreement.
This is a momentous day for all of the people